Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witch's Box, and I'm here today with another episode of Witch BookTube. And today we're going to be doing something a little different. We are going to be, or I am going to be doing for you, a witch book haul. And let me tell you, this is kind of like a colossal witch book haul because there are over 25 books here. So listen, it's going to be a long video. Get comfortable. Get a little tea, get a little coffee, get a little water, maybe get all three, whatever you need to get comfy, because this is going to be a big one, a long one. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that I'm dividing all of these books into two different piles and two different conversations. So the first chunk of books that I'm going to be talking about are books that I know will be part of the Witch's Book subscription moving forward. I've got about maybe 6 or 7 months already planned, and I'll talk about those books. I'll share what those books are with you, and that'll be the first half of this video. I will also say that if you are subscribed, or if you're planning on subscribing at some point, I'll share with you these books, but don't buy the books because you're going to get them. So just know that. For the second chunk of books that I've got piled up here, there are maybe 1 or 2, potentially maybe 3 that might be part of a month at some point for the Witch's Book subscription. I will let you know about that so that if you are keeping track and you're thinking you want to buy some of these books, don't buy those yet. The other thing I will say is that there are some of these books that I've already perused, looked through, read ahead of time, and I have not reviewed. And so I don't know if I'm going to like them or not. I'll let you know about that as well. So I know that some of you just love watching book hauls because then it gives you a whole list of books to buy. This is not necessarily an endorsement because I haven't read the second pile of books. However, I can endorse the books that I have for the Witch's Book subscription because I've chosen them already for us. So really quick before I launch into that, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the Witch's Book subscription, we have a Witch Book subscription where you get 2 books a month on a specific topic that is about in-depth witchery and not Witchcraft 101 at all. And along with that 2 books a month, you get access to a private forum where we will just be a collective, kind of a book coven of sorts, where we talk with each other about what we're loving about the books, where we are in our reading progress. I have a whole dream of sharing all these I collect quotes it's obsessively, and I'd love to be able to share with you like, hey, this quote spoke to me and why. I would love to hear about quotes that you love. So you get a forum access. They can create community around these books, and then once a month we're going to gather on a live online gathering to talk about the books like a witch book club, where on occasion when I can get access to them, we'll have authors come in, sit with us, talk with us about the books that we're reading and their own witchcraft practices and just whatever else comes to mind to ask them. So that is the Witch's Book subscription. It's $30 a month. There is a link down below to subscribe to that or get more information about that. At the time of this video, the deadline to subscribe to the Witch's Book subscription in order to get the first books sent out October 1st is September 15th. If you're watching this way after all of that, don't worry, get in now because it's just going to keep building over time and it's going to be amazing. I can feel it in my bones. I'm so excited. I can't stand it. Okay, so the first 2 books I'm going to share with you, and I need to say that actually, I'm not going to share these with you in the order that they're going to be sent out simply because there are just piles of books around me. I can't keep them organized that way. So the first 2 books that I'm going to share with you that will go out for the Witch's Book subscription is by a writer that I reviewed a book from in the first month of me doing Witch BookTube reviews, and that's Jason Miller. And we are a big fan of Jason Miller around these parts. He's an incredible writer. The books are incredibly detailed. I would say intermediate to advanced witchcraft. He's incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly well referenced. And the book that we reviewed is, I think it's A Sorcerer's Secret. It was a fantastic book. So we're doing 2 more books by him, which I'm really excited about. And the first one is The Elements of Spellcrafting, 21 Keys to Successful Sorcery. And the other one, because we're always wanting to know about money, is Financial Sorcery, Magical Strategies to Create Real and Lasting Wealth. We all need that. We all want that. We're all asking about that. We will actually be talking about money magic when we get to the last month of harvesting the honey. I think by the time this video comes out, it'll only be 1 or 2 days left to register before that closes out for this year. I'll link to that below as well. In any case, these 2 books, fantastic. These are part of the haul. Here are the spines. Jason Miller, amazing, wonderful. These are going on. The next series of books, or the next grouping of books, is actually 3, and I still have to choose 2 out of these 3 to send out to the Witches Book subscription. So I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go yet, but all 3 of these books are by Devin Hunter. And these are the spines, and it's the Witch's Book of Mysteries, the Witch's Book of Spirits, and the Witch's Book of Power. These are beefy books, which I love. I love. They just like feel thick and full of amazing things. And I'm going to show you the covers. They're gorgeous and totally on brand. I love when a writer has just a brand look throughout all of the covers of their books. Look at that. Gorgeous. This is obviously a series. It's a series, and I'm actually not sure if there's another one in this series. These are from Llewellyn. I had a huge haul from Llewellyn, and these came in, and I just loved it. These next 2 are smaller. These are called The Art of Occultism and The Art of Mysticism by Gabrielle Saram. The design on these books are beautiful. I love it. The only thing is, you know me, I love the satiny kind of matte finish, and this is a shinier finish, but they're still really beautifully designed. Love it. We're going to go into occultism. We're going to go into mysticism. This is not, here, this one. This is not going to be the first time or the only time that we talk about what mysticism is and diving a little deeper into that, because I think that there's a beautiful window through mysticism to really access deeper points of the spirituality side of witchcraft. So these 2 are going to be going out. I have so many books around me. It's kind of sexy, I have to say, because I mean, I can just have books around me 24/7 and just be the happiest girl on the planet. So the next 2 books that I'm going to share with you, and this is going to be its own month, is all about working with familiars, which I've gotten quite a few questions over the course of this business and being kind of out in public with my witchery, how to work with familiars, and these 2 books will cover that in a really beautiful way from 2 really great writers. So the first one, with the glare, The Witch's Familiar, Spiritual Partnerships for Successful Magic by Graven Grimassi. Let's say Grimassi. And the other one is Familiars in Witchcraft, Supernatural Guardians in the Magical Traditions of the World by Maja Dadust. Maja, I'm sorry if I just butchered your name, but these are the 2 books, and these 2 will go into one of the subscription box months. So here we go. They're both meaty, even though they look a little bit thinner than the Devin Hunter books, but listen, as we've learned with the books by Anush and Leonte, they're super skinny. Maybe sometimes they're 20 pages, but they are packed with information. This has got great stuff. So there's that. The next 2 books are these 2. And this one is The New Aradia, A Witch's Handbook to Magical Resistance. And it's edited by Laura Tempest Zakroff, who I'm sure by now all of you are familiar with because she's the only author whose books have actually been in the subscription box twice at this point when this video goes out. We've had her Sigil Witchery book go out into the boxes, and we had her Cauldron book just go out in September. Love her work. It's always concise and wonderful. This is an anthology, and it's really teeny. It's a fast read. And then the next book is by Michael Hughes, and it's Magic for the Resistance, Rituals and Spells for Change. So the reason for both of these books is not everyone identifies as an activist, not everyone identifies as political, but we are all affected by those things no matter what. And these books not only speak to how we can create magical self-care for ourselves in political climates that might be incredibly stressful to us on the daily, but they also suggest different ways with which to address political strife and political conflict and activism in a way that ties in all that is you as a witch. The New Aradia specifically speaks to Aradia, who's the daughter of Diana, and how she is the patron for this type of work. I recommend both of them, and I also think that they're just incredibly helpful and can give rise to really good conversation about what is our responsibility to our larger community, and what kind of work can we do alone, what kind of work can we do in our personal groups, and how do we stand in our identity out in the world in a way that impacts change in a positive way. So we will have these, and this one will probably either go out in December or in January, but it's really the only set of books that I have an idea of when it'll go out. The other ones keep changing depending on what's going on with all of you, what's going on with the responses from the boxes. So when you'll get them, it'll be a surprise, although I will start to let people know like the first of each month what books will be going out the following month. So you know that. So this is it for the books that I know are going out in the Witches book subscription. They were part of a big haul. I just read, I made choices, and those are the books. To get into the next pile of books, I want to preface this next pile by saying these are books that called to me in some way, like that I've been wanting to read. These are books that I've been waiting to be released. There are a couple of new ones in here that I really was waiting for. Books that have been recommended to me by people. 2 of the books were sent to me by a publishing house, and 2 of the books came from my own personal library. So I'm going to start with those and then move on, because I think these come with probably the most story. I don't know how many of you know. I'll share it again. The Witches box, as a business, exists and lives in a small town in Southern California called Idyllwild, okay? And Idyllwild is on a cute little mountain. It's a pine forest. It's tall. It's all very artsy, and there are deserts on either side of the mountain, but this mountain is a really special place. And my husband, his family, has owned a cabin up here for 40 years. So when he and I started dating, we started coming up here. Most of his family at that point and still are living in different states. So we really have been the ones who have used that cabin the most, and we love it. And it's been our home base because in 2014, we decided we're going to become full-time digital nomads, and we just travel. We both own our own businesses. We both work on the computer, and it just made life easy. We land somewhere. We may hang out somewhere like in Italy for 3 months, but we work Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends we explore where we're at, and it just works out really well, and it's an incredible lifestyle that I embrace. However, I'm also a homebody, and I love my books, and I love my altars, and I love my things, and I love the mountains, and I love kind of hiding out in the woods. And so it's always been a little bit of a challenging balance for me, right? So this business started a couple years ago. The home base is in Idyllwild. I've got a team of 2 people who just rock the Casbah. You've heard me talk about both of them before. Anne, who kind of manages all of the packaging and shipping, and Barbara, who's her assistant, and they receive and they package and they send out, and they're the ones who touch all your goodies unless I'm here. And then when I'm back here, which usually happens about 4 months out of the year, sometimes 6 depending on what's going on, when I'm here, I like to touch your boxes because I want to be part of the magic, and this is all part of my vision, so I involve myself that way. All of that to say, we had a studio for the Witches box that we outgrew because of all of you, and I'm deeply grateful because it's just so exciting that this has grown to the degree that it has. And in the process of looking for a bigger space, my husband and I realized, why don't we just buy like a property? So we did. We bought a property that has a small cabin on it. We have a big workshop next door to this space where the Witches box will be. And then this little like studio space is my personal like headquarter office. This is where it all happens when I'm here. So because we've been nomads for so long, everything I own has been in boxes and in storage forever. And the problem with that is that this kind of business warrants having altars, having things, taking pictures, and so I'm schlepping things across the planet so that I can keep working, and it's been a little discombobulating. But as I've been moving in, all of my books, I know this is a long story, but stick with me. All of my books have come out of their boxes, and I've been like lining all these shelves, and it's like its own ritual of healing and homecoming, and I'm so excited. But one of the things is that I haven't seen these books in at least 5 years. And so as I've pulled them out, I'm like, oh my God, I'm pulling out books that were like from my beginnings, right? Like my beginning. That's such an exciting moment of my life when I finally chose my own witchcraft path, when I was studying things that I wanted to study, exploring things that were new to me because I had grown up in a home that practiced a very specific tradition that even though it was rich and beautiful, I never quite felt fully connected to. So when I started to study and read and learn, those books have just such deep meaning for me. And so as I'm unpacking, I'm like, oh my God, these books, I remember how much they changed my life. I remember how much I love them. And so some of those, I think what I want to do is read them again just to see, do they still have the same impact? Do I still feel about them the way that I did? And then share them with you. This isn't a technical haul, but it kind of is, only because I pulled these 2 out specifically because I want to read them in the next month or 2 and share them with you. And so they're not new to me, and they're not going to be new to you because some of you will have already read these books. They've been around for quite a while. One of them was like published in 1992, but it felt like its own haul. Does that make sense? I felt like, they called to me. So the first two books of this haul, sort of, are the books that I pulled off of my shelf. And the first one I'm going to share with you is one that I think would be great to read now because, as some of you know, Kiara Stellar, who is an amazing astrologer who does our new and full moon reports, has just started, I think it was in August that we first started her doing dark moon reports for us. And along with those dark moon reports, I'm doing like a companion ritual that you can do for that dark moon. So boom, here's the book. The book that popped out to me was Mysteries of the Dark Moon to share with you, and it's by Dimitra George. And do you see how sadly abused this book is? I loved this book. And it hurts my heart to see how just like weathered it is. I read it because I always put like you can't see it, but I always put my name. Wow, that's really hard to see. My name and the month that I read it and the year, and I read it in 2002. But this came out in 1992, so there's that. I will be reading this and I will be sharing it with you, but this is an oldie but a goodie. I've already read it, but I really want to just journey through it again, and I think it would be really great and relevant to the work that we're doing on the blog now. So there's that. The second book, that isn't witchy, but it's a little shamanic in its lens, its perspective, but it was a book when I first saw it that I gravitated towards very quickly. You see all these little, and it's turning yellow, like this poor book. It doesn't even have a year, so this was actually dating the time when I would write my name and the year. So I don't even know when this book was published, but this book is by Christina Baldwin. It was published in 1990, and it's called Life's Companion, Journal Writing as a Spiritual Quest. I am a huge user and huge proponent of self-inquiry through journaling. It is one of the most important and I think potent tools for any witch, alongside meditation. Those two things to help hone you and align you and give you the clarity that you need to understand yourself are invaluable. So this book really spoke to me, and I loved at the time when I read it that it pulled in such a deeply shamanic and mystical perspective. I want to read this again and share it with you. I really love this book. So boom, that's the end of the books that I've already read, and I sort of quasi-hauled but didn't. And now we can dive into the other books. These two books, I'm not going to go in twos, but for now it's two. These two books actually were sent to me by Quarto Publishing. And this one is a Divination Handbook by Liz Dean. And this one is the Book of Blessings and Rituals by Athena Parakis. They're both quite beautiful. The design work is just, look at these illustrations. They're gorgeous, but they are very much beginner books that I'm probably not going to, in fact, I know I'm not going to actually review them as a video. I will do a review on them on Goodreads, and my Goodreads link is down below. And after I've done that, these are going to go into the next book giveaway because they're beautiful. And if these are things that interest you and you're okay with beginner stuff, boom, this is going to go out. Our next giveaway is actually going to start taking place September 15th because we're going to do one for each Sabbath. So at the very least, we know these two books are going to go out, and thank you to Quarto Publishing for sending these out. Beautiful. I know that people are going to enjoy that. Now let's get into the stuff. This topic and this book may actually be part of the Witch's Book subscription. I'm not sure yet because I need to find a companion book for it, and I haven't found one that I'm satisfied with yet. But this one is Glamour Magic, The Witchcraft Revolution to Get What You Want by Deborah Castellano. This cover is ridiculously lush and gorgeous. I love it. This is a topic that's been asked about quite a bit, and I think one of you who watches these videos and commented below one of the videos brought this up as a question. This is one of the books. I'm looking for another one. When I find one, it very well may become one for the book subscription, and I won't be doing a BookTube review about it until that month has passed. So keep that in mind. If you're part of the subscription service, don't buy the book because it may come to you. I'm just still not sure. I need to find a companion for it, so there's that. This next book, actually it came with another one, but I can't find it. I know it's in here somewhere, but it's so teeny. It's a very skinny book, and as I'm sure I have told a lot of you, if you've been watching, I grew up in a household that was really deeply steeped in Santeria, and so this is something that's very familiar to me, but it's not something that I actively practice. And so something about it called me, and I thought it just kind of felt like if I read through these, it would be a little bit of a homecoming, and I've been kind of feeling a need for that, particularly now that we're approaching October. So I got one on Yemaya, and I got one on Oshun, and these are written by Baba Raul Canizares. There you go. And they're very, very small. I will do a review on them because this is something people ask about a lot. And those of you who like have tuned into the fact that this is part of my background have asked questions that I may have the answers to. I don't always feel comfortable actually giving them, only because I don't stand in this tradition, and so I don't feel fully comfortable like representing. But it's like a home thing. I can't explain it to you, but I'm sure I will talk about it more when I do the review. So there's that. I think it's funny when I have a book and even before I've opened it, I already have issues with it. So it is what it is. I have seen this book around. The minute I had seen it, I had immediate like challenges around the title, but someone highly recommended it to me. And then I heard someone else like having a discussion. I didn't hear. I read someone else having a discussion about it on Goodreads. And I thought, I need to check this out. I can't just dismiss this book just because I don't like the title. The book is by Lasara Firefox Allen, and look, it's got a foreword by Ariel Gore, who I follow, love, and admire, and Rosa de Anda, who I don't know. And the book is called Jailbreaking the Goddess, a radical revisioning of feminist spirituality. So I don't know why. It kind of just it itched my brain in a way that wasn't pleasant, but I'm going to read it partly too because of the recommendations, but because I am deeply steeped in old school feminist spirituality, and I'm really eager and hungry to read new, more modern, more present day perspectives on feminist spirituality. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to the book, and I'm going to just like let go of all my blah, blah, blah regarding the title. So there it is. Okay, the next two books, these two or some combination therein may also be part of the Witch's Book subscription, and they're both by Raven Grimassi, who has recently passed, and I know I'm not going to get the date right. I believe it was sometime this spring or last summer. It was an unfortunate loss for all of us, although we all have to pass, right? But he has left a deep, beautiful, extensive legacy of work that we can still read and learn from. And these, if I am not mistaken, are the last two books of his that have been published. And this one in particular was dropped or just came out posthumously. I believe this one was released September 1st, so like a few days ago. So this is what I'm going to say. The first book that I have in my hand is The Grimoire of the Thorn-Blooded Witch, Mastering the 5 Arts of Old World Witchery. This was a recommendation. I don't even remember who it was that recommended it to me, so I'm really sorry if you're watching this and I'm not remembering your name. I got this book and immediately dived into the first 2 chapters, but at the time that I was reading the first 2 chapters, I was like multiple book reading, which I don't normally do, but I just was. And what do I want to say about this? Because I was so immediately grabbed and touched by the level of subtle, nuanced, but very deep connection that he was expressing with the way he interacted with the natural world, with the spirit world of plants and nature. It was so moving. I can't even actually quite explain to you why, but it was like one of those things where I cannot be reading anything else while I read this book. I need to really devote my entire presence to it because it was really it was moving, it felt powerful, and it felt so intimate. That's what it was. It was such an intimacy that it just made me emotional. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So I put it aside. I've only read 2 chapters. And then when I finish reading, I have a grouping of books that I need to finish. I'm going to dive back into this, and then my intention is to dive into this to see if both of these would be a good match to send out to the Witch's Book subscription, because really, really beautiful. This second book is What We Knew in the Night, and it's Reawakening the Heart of Witchcraft. This is it. The cover is gorgeous. So again, don't buy these because these might go out at some point in the Witch's Book subscription. I will let you know if that's going to happen, but the chances of this appearing in the Witch's Book subscription is very, very high. So this next book is by a reader that I have never read before. The name is Jenna Tilindrew, and it looks like the predominant amount of books that this writer has put out focuses around the Avalon mythology and Celtic deities and that type of work and culture. And so this is a place of my life that I haven't explored as deeply as some part of me knows that I need to. It's interesting because I'm having a process right now as we do this video. I have some sort of connection to Avalon, and there is some part of me that's a little afraid to dive deep into that, which is interesting. I don't understand what that's about. I tend to tie much more deeply into, or I'm just much more attached, I think, to my most recent past, which is I have Cuban parents, and my grandparents were born in Spain, but we are very deeply and heavily, obviously, influenced in Santeria and all of that. And I am also drawn to the Celtic tradition, but there is a specific like arm or branch of things that have to do with this Avalonian mythology. And one day, well, maybe the day is now, one day I will really dive deep into it and understand what that's about. But this writer and this book is called The Mythic Moons of Avalon. A lot of their books are about Avalon or something having to do with that. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. It was recommended. I don't know what to expect. I haven't actually looked into it yet. So I got it, and here it is. Beautiful, yummy, thick, juicy. So we'll see where this leads. I'm having so much like electricity around this book that it almost feels irrational. It is irrational. It doesn't actually even make sense. And I think specifically because it speaks to a very different part of me, but when you see the book, you're not going to really understand what all my like blah, blah, blah is about. But I saw this book when I went to Barnes & Noble and I needed a break and I wanted to escape like life. And so I went into Barnes & Noble, I got a little iced coffee, and I perused and I perused, and I saw this book. And the cover of this book is beautiful. And immediately doing my judgy thing, I'm like, well, it's probably like Witchlight and it's cute and really pretty, but is it really something that I want to share with my audience? You know, all this stuff. And then I picked it up and I touched it and I looked inside and I just bought it. I didn't even think about it. So here's the thing with this book. I'm not going to talk much more about it actually, because I really do want to do a whole video about this just to geek out on so many things that I'm salivating at the idea of spending, I don't know how many minutes or even an hour talking to you about this book. So the book is called The Seasonal Soul, A Mystic's Guide to Inner Transformation, and it's by Lauren Aletta. And look at how beautiful. This cover is just beautiful. It's that matte satiny black, and then this white is like embossed or shiny or beautiful. I have no idea. It's just so gorgeous. We will talk about this book. That's all I'm going to say. So this next book, I just loved the cover. I loved the design. I don't see enough books about the magical family or the witchcraft family. And I think it's an important topic because so many of us have come from families that were of other traditions, other religions that had nothing to do with being a witch or practicing pagan ways. And so the more examples we have of what it would look like to create that culture moving forward with our kids, I think is really important. I have not heard whether this is a good book or not, but I will let you know. It's by Monica Crossan. Beautiful. Design is gorgeous. There's stuff in here. I can't wait. I will share it with you. This book, the only reason I got this book, well, there's more than one reason, but the only reason really that was like the immediate reason was Pixie Lighthorse. This name just kind of came up on some random Amazon deep dive that I was going through. And I know this name because a long time ago, back in the early days of blogging, when it was like this new thing and there were a bunch of bloggy chicks like journaling their lives and sharing it with each other. There were blog rolls, and I had an old blog that is now super defunct. She was one of the blogs that I followed, and she is, if I'm not mistaken, she's a shaman, she's a practitioner, and she offers services, but apparently she wrote a book, and I'm really curious just to kind of read it and see where she's at right now, what she's written. I remember her writing and her work being really, really great, and it had gravity. I remember that her writing just kind of had some gravity for me, if that makes any sense. I really enjoyed the design. It's really lovely. My oily hands when I was moisturizing, you can see it on the cover, but it's called Boundaries and Protection, so I'll let you know about that. And I'm pretty sure she still has a blog, so I will, when I do the review on this book, I'll include all her information down in the description box. Okay, this next series of books I am actively reading now, and these will be the books that I will be reviewing for the last 2 weeks of September as we go into October, because it's all based or all focused on ancestor work. And since the October box is going to be about ancestral work, I thought it'd be great to start doing some reading on different traditions and different approaches to working with ancestors, because so many of us want to learn how to work with our ancestors, but we're coming from different cultural traditions, different races, and so having examples of different ways to do this that isn't just Day of the Dead, which for many of us can be misappropriation, I thought this would be a really great educational way to go. And so for the last 2 weeks of September, maybe into the first week of October, we will be reviewing these books. So the first book is Honoring Your Ancestors, A Guide to Ancestral Veneration, Mallory Vaudos. I'm not pronouncing that right, but that's one book. The next book is another book by Raven Grimassi, which, because, I mean, prolific, Communing with the Ancestors, Your Spirit Guides, Bloodline Allies, and the Cycle of Reincarnation. This has gotten great reviews. This will be reviewed and read, or read and reviewed. I'm going a little faster now. So, Honoring the Ancestors, A Basic Guide by Galina Graskova. Beautiful. Ancestor Paths by Ala Dokun. There you go. Gorgeous. Much more of an African lens, which I think is important as well. And then this chunky, meaty book, Ancestral Medicine, Rituals for Personal and Family Healing by Danielle Four. This, if I'm not mistaken, comes from the perspective of Appalachian witchcraft. Very excited to read this. That's it for the ancestral books. I did read one already that I won't be reviewing on the Witches BookTube, but I did do a review of on Goodreads. The link to Goodreads is down below. And the reason why I'm not doing a video is because I gave it a 1 star. It wasn't a good book. You're better off reading all these other ones, so I don't recommend it. But if you're interested to see what that title is so that you don't buy it, you can go to Goodreads and check that out. These 2 books, because again, it's that Celtic love, I was attracted to first, not gonna lie, my shallow heart, because of the design. The design is gorgeous. They're both by Charlene Hidalgo. Come on. These books to me look like complete and utter works of art. Look at how gorgeous this is. Beautiful. One is called Celtic Tree Rituals, and the other one is The Healing Power of Trees. We will be discussing trees in the Harvesting the Honey. We will go into depth about working with trees because trees are such a beautiful thing. So I just kind of wanted to get these as a way to continue that work for myself. So there it is. Okay, the next book is Elements of Magic, Reclaiming Earth, Air, Fire, Water, and Spirit. And this book, this book is edited by Jane Meredith. Jane Meredith is the author of the first 2 books that we're going to be sending out for the Witches Book subscription that I don't have in this haul because I had those books long before and I've already announced those books. But when I saw that this was from her, I totally wanted to get it because her writing is fantastic. I haven't read this book yet, but I have no doubt that I'm going to love it. I also love that the foreword was from Starhawk, someone that I read very, 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 very early on in my witchy years. She wrote the seminal book, The Spiral Dance, which I'm sure some of you have already read, but this book is coming, and we haven't actually touched on elemental magic in a while, so I was really excited to get this. This next book is for me. This next book I bought because someone recommended it. I think it was on Goodreads. And I don't know that it's actually going to be something that is fully relevant for all of you, that you're going to want to read about or learn about. It may not be witchy, but I bought it because, well, let me just show it to you. It's called The Garden Awakening, Designs to Nurture Our Land and Ourselves. First of all, what with this design? This is like on its own a work of art. This is like what books as objects is all about. I mean, what? I can't. Look at that. And this chartreuse color, I love it. And it's hardback. So because we've bought this parcel of land, I've just really spent a lot of time contemplating, first of all, what it means to own land. No one owns land, right? But we have this crazy construct about ownership and buying. But regardless of all of those implications, this plot of land is my responsibility. Like, we are stewards now of this little piece of this mountain. I've been really just spending a lot of time contemplating this whole notion of what it really means to be in sacred stewardship of land. And the world is burning to the ground. We are poisoning ourselves. We're poisoning the planet. Honestly, there are days now where I really don't believe that we're going to make it out alive. I mean, no one ever does, but I think that we're really hurtling ourselves into destruction, which isn't a positive thing to say, but there are days when I wake up with this true panic, like, what are we doing? But now I've got this little plot of land. It's not very big. It's a 1/4 acre, which is big for many people. And there's just been a lot of contemplation about what what is my sacred duty? What is going to be my sacred relationship with this piece of land? How do I nurture it? So this book, when it came up on my feed, I thought I would love to spend some time kind of just in deep contemplation over that. So that's what this is about. Witchcraft is about, ultimately, in my opinion, about connection, no matter what culture you come from, no matter what angle you're approaching it from, no matter whether you are atheist as a witch or you worship 1,000 deities. Ultimately, it's about connection. And so on that level, I think that this book might be relevant to all of us. Maybe not. I may read it to you, or I may share it with you. I may not, but I really was called to get it. So there's that. These next 2 books are fiction, which I'm so excited about. And there's actually 3 of these books, but the other one is still on back order. They're written by Ellen Evert Hopman. And I read so much nonfiction, which I love. I've always been a big nonfiction girl, but the idea of reading druidic fiction just excites me. And these have a pretty lovely popular following. So one is The Priestess of the Forest, and the other one is The Priestess of the Fire Temple. One's a druid's tale, and the other one's a druid's journey. I'm not sure that they are a series unto themselves. I think that they're standalone. But there are 3 that she has written. I'm waiting for the 3rd one, and it'll probably be a first. It will be a first, but I will do a little review on some witchy magical fiction, which I'm looking forward to, because sometimes you just need to disassociate and hang out with some cool stories. This same writer wrote this book, The Sacred Herb of Samhain, and I'm really excited to read it, and I will read it before Samhain so that if it's a good book and you want it, you can get it before Samhain if you want to work with it. But also she has The Sacred Herbs of Beltane coming out sometime next spring, and I had thought for a second, when I didn't know that book wasn't out yet, that this would be a beautiful pair to send out, because while we're celebrating Samhain here on the Northern Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere will be celebrating Beltane, and what a great little... I just love that polarity that we're always having and that we're always dancing with. But I will share this with you very soon, because Salmon is coming right around the corner. So this book, another gorgeous design, is by Brianna Saucy. It's called Making Magic. I know her through her website. She does really beautiful work around archetypes, storytelling, and using those things to weave magic in our lives. She is very much along the same voice as Danielle Dulski, who wrote the book The Holy Wild that I reviewed for you, I believe it was early summer this year, and I loved. And she reminded me very much of Clarissa Pinkola Estes in the way the story was woven. Same type of voice. I'm looking forward to reading this book. Her website is beautiful. She offers a couple of programs that work with weaving story and archetype and history into your magic. It's really beautiful, and I'm looking forward to reading this. I will definitely share this with you. This next book came highly recommended, and I have heard of this writer before, but I have not read her work before, so I'm looking forward to diving in. It's called The Book of Hedge Druidry by Joanna Van Hoven. Another gorgeous, gorgeous design. Share this with you. We did a book on Druidry, I want to say sometime in the spring, so we'll cover a little bit more about that. And my imagining is that this is going to go a little deeper into it, which I'm looking forward to. We're almost done, you guys. But you've been here. I doubt that you're still here. But if you're still here, yay, you're still here. I'm almost done. Okay, and I promise I'm never going to have a book called this huge again, or I will divide it into 2 videos, because this is just kind of insane. Okay, this next book was recommended to me, but I don't know anything about the writer. I don't know anything about the book. I have no idea what's going to happen when I read it. So it's by an author called John Beckett. It's Paganism in Depth, a Polytheist Approach. I have no idea. We'll see. And this book is by John Mankey. Very well known, does a lot of writing, particularly I think through Llewellyn. I've heard this book is fantastic. It's called Transformative Witchcraft, The Greater Mysteries. It's very likely that I'm going to be investigating other books of his, and this will be a Witches book subscription month as well. Likely, I'm not promising it, but I'm feeling that, so there's that. Lastly, good grief. These 2 books were initially going to be the very first books that I sent out in the Witches book subscription, but then I discovered Jane Meredith, and Jane Meredith she seems to bring in a really deep understanding of psychology, transformation, and things like the dark journey or the journey into the underworld for the psyche and for magic in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. And so she kind of won me over, and I decided to go with her 2 books. So that's not to say that these books are not good. It just means that it spoke to me a lot deeper, and I felt that it had just much more nuance, which I think was important, especially for the first books that I sent out for the Witch's Book subscription because I want to set a tone. Like, we're going to go there. I want some nuance. I want the subtlety where the true magic exists. And not a lot of books really touch on that. So when I read those books, I was so taken by them that I decided right on the spot, this has got to be it. But these books are also worth a read, and I will actually do a review on them because I've read one and part of another, and I'll share them with you in the next couple of months. But the writer is Stephanie Woodfield. It's Dark Goddess Craft, a journey through the heart of transformation. Lovely, gorgeous. I love this design, beautiful. You will be hearing from me about this book in the future. I won't say soon because I've got quite a lot of books lined up, but probably before the end of the year. Her other book that I have is Celtic Lore and Spellcraft of the Dark Goddess, Invoking the Morrigan. The Morrigan is getting quite a lot of resurgence right now, similar to Hecate. Really deep, really powerful work. There's this book. When I read it, I will review it and I will share it with you. And holy cow, we're done. So that was a lot. I will try to be kinder to all of you in the future and not give you such a long video, but these were really, really, really big hauls, partly because I was searching for books to include for the Witch's Book subscription. In the future, I won't be buying so many. I think that I've got a good 8 to 9 months at this point of books scheduled out, potentially. There may be some changes as always, but I've got enough, and that allows me enough time to like start looking for other things now in smaller chunks, and I can share those with you as well. So wow, if you have hung out with me this long, mwah, I can't believe that you have. I'm really grateful that you did. I hope that you enjoyed this in some part. If you have other books to recommend, absolutely tell me about them below, and I will talk to you soon. Let's all take a break. Bye.